Hi, today we're talking to Tanya from Hertfordshire. Hi, Tanya, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well, thank you, Sheila.
That's good. Would you like to share your stroke story with us, and where you've how you got from your stroke to now, and about your fundraising adventure as well that you're going to be doing for us?
Yeah, it would be a real privilege, Sheila. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. Um, it's quite interesting because, in fact, around 5 years ago, I was actually diagnosed with cancer and went through, obviously, a pretty difficult period of time, had surgery, and kind of looked death in the face, so to speak, just through that diagnosis. It was quite defining for me and my family. I have daughters, lots of daughters, and we went through this together. And it really, really changed my life and changed how I led my life, and really everything to do with um, all aspects of it in terms of life balance, exercise, diet, and just how I actually sort of practice things in daily life. Now, that included the fact that I am actually vegetarian anyway, but I also don't drink. Was cutting back on smoking because, yeah, my bad, that was one of my habits. I took up yoga and really was practicing between half an hour and an hour of yoga every single day, most days. So the whole cancer experience completely changed my life and my outlook on what I should be doing. However, fast forward 5 years, and what I didn't know and had no idea about whatsoever was the fact that I had extremely high blood pressure. Now, that is something that's only come to light following the stroke that I had. And I had the stroke on Easter Monday back in April. And I've been feeling fine. Life was going on, everything was normal. I work in healthcare communications and actually, quite a few different therapy areas. I have worked in stroke, I have worked in hypertension, but never, never for 1 minute did I relate any of the stuff that I've learned through working in these communication fields. Did I apply it to myself or think I was at risk? Because of my lifestyle. I have
Yeah.
really, with the exception of, moderate to light smoking, lead a healthy life. So it comes to Easter, and I was actually in the shower, and I got dizzy, and I thought, well, that's really odd. And I was sort of holding onto the shower. I went to step out of the shower, and the whole of my left side just crumpled. So I was clinging onto the shower, stepped out, and I've got a mirror on the side of at the side of the shower. I looked in that, and literally my face was just hanging off its hinges. So because of the fast adverts, because of stuff that I did know about, I knew immediately that I was having a stroke. It was shocking. At that exact moment, my daughter actually walked into the bedroom and to ask to use the shower. Now, in my head, I said to her, absolutely not right now. I'm a bit in trouble and I think I'm having a stroke. And by the way, I'm naked. Apparently, that's not what came out of my mouth at all. And because of the gobbledygook that actually came out of my mouth, she came running into the bathroom, screamed, and then ran away again. She actually ran away to go and get her phone and dial 999 because she had also seen the fast advert and had a feeling that's what was going on. I'm not going to lie, there were actually a lot of very comical moments throughout the experience. And I think that was possibly one of the things that kept us all together. The fact that I'm standing naked, outside of a shower and she's talking to the paramedics and she's saying to me, are you breathing? I said, yeah, I'm breathing. So she said, yes, she's breathing. Are you conscious? Yes, I'm conscious. Yes, she's conscious. all the questions that they ask when you phone 999.
Yeah.
So it was quite comical as well. And she helped me get dressed. And I have no idea how we did that. And when the ambulance arrived, they immediately, it probably took about 10 minutes. They immediately took me off to the ambulance. And apparently I was asking for certain bits of makeup on my way out as well, as you do. But when I got into the ambulance, I was totally unable to do the exercise where they ask you to lift your arm. Couldn't do that. My leg was still marginally working, but I couldn't particularly talk either. So I was slurring terribly. I knew what was going on. They knew what was going on, and they got me to hospital very, very quickly. The shocker to me was the fact that it was even going on because of my age. And, I'm not young, but I'm not old either. And I am of working age, and I am fit and healthy. So it was just all a real shock. The ambulance man said to me, don't be frightened, don't be frightened. And it was very strange. But I think because of the experiences I'd had before, I actually wasn't frightened because I knew what was going on because of the adverts, because of the stuff that I've studied. I knew what was happening. So I didn't feel fear at all. All I felt was, get me to the hospital, let's get this sorted. When I got to hospital, comical moment number 2 was the neuroconsultant that I met in the resus area. He said to me, frown for me. And I said, I can't frown. He said, well, raise your eyebrows. And I said, no, I can't raise my eyebrows. And he said, no, you have to try. I said, I can't. I've had Botox. So I really couldn't. Yeah. So he was just looking at me as if to say, I see, okay. And I was just cracking up. I mean, it was just awful, when to admit you've had Botox. So that was that. Now, they took my blood pressure immediately and it was totally off the scale. I was at 195 or something around there. And what they wanted to do was obviously thrombolyze me, which is the first line treatment to actually break down the clot, do what they have to do. And because my blood pressure was so high, it's really dangerous to do that. So they first had to bring my blood pressure down, but you've only got a 4-hour window of when you can actually do the thrombolizing as well. So it was all a bit of a ticking clock waiting time, which was a bit hideous. So I had an IV drip for the stuff to bring my blood pressure down, and we were sort of watching it because they could do it after it got to below 160. And I think that took about an hour. There was an on-screen consultation with a neurologist specialist, I assume, which was also a bit strange, but COVID times and all of that, that's what happens. My blood pressure did come down enough. They did thrombolyze me, and that was that. I got taken up to the stroke ward at Watford General Hospital. Without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, it was quite interesting because I was at Watford for the cancer as well, for the cancer surgery. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. The care I got, I think it being a stroke ward as well, the understanding, the empathy, the kindness, it was quite extraordinary. And I have to say, particularly with regards to the healthcare assistants, the ladies that were there behind the scenes doing what they have to do, they were amazing. There was one lady in particular who, managed to find a plug adapter so I could, charge up my phone and charge up my electric toothbrush and, that sort of thing. I mean, they were just fantastic. I think also I was probably a lot better equipped than somebody might be because of the cancer experience and knowing that you have to, as quickly as possible, try and find some semblance of normal and get back to doing what you need to do rather than giving in or rolling over with any of this. And I say that quite loosely because, everybody is different. And I think everybody takes different amounts of time to be able to get back to sort of believing that there is a way forward. It's hard. It is such a shock to have a stroke. It was just enormous. But I think my experience has been that the quicker you try and put some of the suggestions that they give you into practice, the quicker you start to get back to some kind of normal. So this is now 5 months later. Because of COVID, because of the whole situation of not being able to visit people in hospital and all of that, I went from hospital to a neuro rehab. And when I got into the neuro rehab, it just wasn't working for me. And it's partly due to the fact that I have aged parents who have come to live with me, who I care for as well. My father had a stroke a few years ago, and he has advanced dementia as well. So sort of me being away from the family home was not ideal. Also, I have a very special cat who I couldn't bear to be away from, but also it was due to, not being able to get any visits, not being able to do the sort of group sessions that I think normally happen. So for me, it was better to be at home. So I got the assessment at home. They came with me. They made sure it was all safe for me to be at home. But I ended up having the early discharge services where they actually do all the rehab at home. And, again, I just can't even sing their praises enough. I mean, I had an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a speech therapist, and eventually I actually got a bit of psychoanalysis as well. All of those ladies were just extraordinary. They seem to have this incredible balance between encouragement, but at the same time, understanding that everybody is different and everybody needs to work at different rates. But they're also able to suggest ways in which you can push yourself further. I've worked really, really hard at getting myself well because I'm not prepared to roll over. I'm not one of those people that would think, oh, well, that's it, everything's over now. Not that I would judge anybody who did, because this is a really tough thing to go through. But I still feel young enough that I need a life. I want a life. I want to continue doing what I do. Yes, it's probably going to be a different kind of normal, but, I've found a level of acceptance around that this is just how it is now. And for as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I will get better and better. And that's what I've got to do. And that's just, my journey, what I need to do. I know everybody's different. So I have worked hard. Then halfway, sort of about 3 months, I think it was about 3 months. Yeah, 3 months in. No, I haven't got to 3 months here. What am I talking about? 1.5 months in. Something came up on my Facebook, which, largely all the ads come about because of what you've been looking at on the internet. And I've done a lot of research on the internet about my recovery. And something came up about different strokes and the fact that they were doing an abseil for their charity. And I was like, ooh, that sounds good. So I made contact with you guys and I said, I'm quite sure I'm too old, that I'm not able enough, and that it's probably too soon after the stroke for me to do anything like this. But, I'd love to have a chat with you about it. And of course, you called me back and said, you're absolutely not too old. We have people who have been in wheelchairs who have done this sort of thing. And it's not too soon. Great. So with that in mind, I've signed up to do the abseil on the 5th of September. And my fear of heights will have to be overcome in the process. But in truth, I've dealt with cancer, I've dealt with a stroke. Climbing up some structure and throwing myself off it, I can do this. So I have had some great sponsorship, actually. I mean, really, really great. And I'm so grateful for it. And where I'm at right now is I'm almost 3 months, because it was the 5th of April that this happened. I am very truly full of gratitude for all the support that I've had from the NHS and through people like yourselves, and my family and my friends and everybody who has absolutely been as in shock as I was that this can happen. I do feel that there is a real great need for more awareness around, the fact that this does happen to younger people, and this happens to people much younger than me, which I had no idea about. I do feel that if, as much as I hate to admit the fact that I did smoke, if my admitting that can help one person think, actually, maybe it's time to give up, do it. Obviously, I have now. The blood pressure thing, I had no idea I was hypertensive. I had no idea. So I think somehow that needs to be a part of like a screening process going forward. I would love to see that happen, because I just didn't know, because I think those are the two factors really that caused my stroke. So if there could be any changes going forward, I would say that the blood pressure side of things, and I'm not saying that people need to sort of dash out and start measuring their blood pressure immediately and do fear around it, but I don't think it's a bad idea to be aware. And if you are in a highly pressurized job, if you do have stresses, if you maybe don't lead a very healthy lifestyle, if you do smoke, if you do drink, all of those things, it probably is worth checking it out. And if, God forbid, this should happen to anybody else, the most important thing is don't mess around with it. You phone 999, you get to a hospital, and you get the care that is waiting for you there, because that's what I did. And, I'm not right yet, but I'm getting there. Some of the things, some of the byproducts of this is fatigue, and the fatigue is very real. But you get given coping mechanisms, how to actually, combat that or give in to that even, it's like your body telling you stop. I now have my left leg back. My left shoulder and elbow is good. My left hand isn't so good yet. It's like the fine motor movements that I'm struggling a bit with, but I'm practicing every day and I'm getting little wins every single day. I'm still skew on my face, but that's okay. People just think I'm doing wry smiles at them all the time. I made this startling discovery the day before yesterday, because I haven't actually worn makeup really since the stroke. And I discovered that I can't actually close my left eye without closing my right eye as well. That was a new discovery. Yeah, really not helpful when you're trying to put on makeup.
No.
One eye open. So little things like that crop up and occur, and then you just think, okay, so that's something I've got to work on. It's not necessarily any kind of death sentence that you're being given. It's definitely, well, it was for me an absolute wake-up call of things that I did need to change, such as, bringing my blood pressure down and stopping smoking. But I think more than anything else is creating some sort of awareness from a patient perspective that says, this can happen to you. This has happened to me. I can get through it. You can get through it. And actually, together, we can get through it even better. Because if we share our stuff, then there's all sorts of stuff that we can put in place to make sure this doesn't necessarily happen to somebody else. I also discovered a whole load of brilliant hacks, because it's very, very frustrating in the beginning, to realize things that you can't do anymore. And as pathetic as it might sound, doing up a bra strap was very real. It was impossible. I just couldn't do it because I didn't
Mm.
have two hands. And I discovered things like pull on sports bras, and it was like a revelation. So, there are all sorts of post stroke life hacks that you can put in place that I have shared on my Instagram, for example, um, that can help get you through those early frustrating days where you are scared and you are wondering if it's ever going to get better, and if there are little wins that you can do in the meantime that help you sort of cope with daily life while you're learning to get better, then that's helpful. So, those are things that I think are really important to share as well. Going forward, who knows? I'm doing my best, getting better. I hopefully will be back to work fairly soon as well, but it will be a graded return to work, because I know I can't go from zero recovery full-time working again. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep talking, keep hopefully sharing my stuff as well, so that other people can hopefully get something from it. And I think that's about me.
Wow. That is some story. Your hypertension is something people bring up all the time. They, like yourself, they said, I had no idea. I had no indication that my blood pressure was high or I should be worried about it. And of course, isn't there, you're quite right, there is no checks in place that if you don't feel you have a problem, no one will check it.
Yeah.
And it is something that needs to be looked at. I mean, even if it's just a case of my local GP has before COVID, has a blood pressure monitor in the waiting room. So you can go in at any time and check your blood pressure. So if every GP surgery had one of those that people could go and check their blood pressure, that's at least a start. Because it seems to be a hidden stroke factor big time.
It certainly is. And you know what, Sheelagh, these, we're still in kind of COVID times, and going to a GP isn't that easy at the moment. I'm still doing telephone consultations. And, in truth, home blood pressure monitors, they're not cheap, but they're not that expensive either. And for the sake of being able to do this at home and, be aware of what the situation is, it's so worth it. So worth it.
Yes, definitely. And it's something that the whole family can keep an eye on as well as an individual and what have you. So it's definitely raising awareness on that is important. And like you say, raising the awareness of stroke in younger people of a working age, right from I say the very young, because I'm in my 50s, the very young,
Yeah, me too.
just come into adulthood, right up. And, it has a different connotation for all of us in that age bracket, because we are still in the flow of something, whether it's work or family or, whatever the situation is. Some of the younger ones are mid-uni, and what have you, and the stroke throws them and what have you. But we've all got something that we need to get back to. We need to strive to get back to, or find some way around it, depending on the issues we're dealing with after the stroke. But like you say, I think there's little things come up every so often, and you've just got to sort of stop and think, right, okay, this is a problem. What can I do? And find a way around it. Like fatigue, everyone finds their own way around how to deal with fatigue, and everybody's different. But you have to give into it I was one that didn't give into it in the start, because being a mum, being a wife, you're always doing 101 different things. And I always was, like that pre-stroke. After my stroke, I thought, well, I don't see why I can't still be doing 101 things, but you just can't cope with that. And one day, I think something says in your head, right, you've got to do something about this. And you sort it out. But then, you have days where it throws you as well. So,
yeah, and at risk of sounding like a total hippie as well, for me, meditation has become a very big part of my daily practice, because what I find is that I'm able to do that deep relax for a short period of time. So, there are all sorts of brilliant meditation apps like Headspace and so on and so on. To actually try and put that into practice, you can almost combat that total exhaustion that we do get to feel in quite a short period of time, to get a deep relax and then, be able to get back to some kind of normal. And, is it hippie? I don't think so. I mean, I think more and more people are starting, especially following lockdown, are starting to understand, the importance of that self-care, the importance of being able to, take yourself out of that crazy normal daily routine that we had and put that self-care in place. So for me, meditation has been a big part of it, because also, like you, I'm a mother, I'm also a carer for my parents and lead a busy life. And, if I can snatch 10 minutes of deep meditation where I can just absolutely zone out, I feel a lot better, you know? So I think, I mean, everyone's different. It might not work for everyone, but that's something that has worked for me.
That sounds fantastic, just to, like you say, it's sometimes just to zone out of everything around you and be in your own space. When we started, when we went into lockdown first time round, one of the things we started online was a Tai Chi session. So we're still going. We're nearly coming up to a year of doing a Tai Chi session on a Monday. And that seems to be very popular as well. Not everybody can do all the movements, but you do what you can. But I think it's putting you in that zone where you're focusing on yourself, and it seems to be going well. So that's fantastic. Well, good luck.
Very, very good. It's also very, very good for hypertension, Tai Chi, as it happens. Because in fact, when I worked in hypertension, the 3 elements that we looked at was diet, low sodium, low salt, obviously processed foods and that sort of thing, and how to cook and eat, outside of that. Exercise, which is obviously very important for us in recovery as well, and mindfulness, meditation, and Tai Chi was in there as well. So, it's fantastic that Different Strokes does that, because it's so important for hypertension and keeping that, manageable.
And it was something people could access when everything else was shut down and locked down. And of course, now not everyone, when things are opening up, not everyone can access them. So we've kept it going. So
for me, I've gotten back to my yoga as well, but obviously it's like versions of the yoga that I was doing. I'm not quite back to where I was at all, but getting there.
You'll get there. Well, good luck on the abseil. You'll be fine. It's not very high at all. Maybe.
I believe you.
Have you seen what you're abseiling off?
Well, there's a funny thing, because I hadn't, and then somebody said to me, "What are you abseiling on?" And I said, "I have no idea, but it's called this. What's it? The mitral orbital." So I looked it up, saw the picture, and nearly cried. And I thought, I wish I hadn't seen that. And somebody said to me, are you going to practice before it? I said, you've got to be kidding. You know, if I practice, I'll go and do it, think there is no chance that I can actually do this. So I'm just going to ignore it all, turn up on the day and throw myself off that structure.
You'll be fine. Absolutely fine. She says, not having done it herself, but lots in the office have.
Oh boy, no, it'll be all right.
It'll be fine. Well, good luck, and hopefully we'll speak to you very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Sheelagh. And thank you for
Okay.
all the work you guys do.
Well, thank you for talking to us today.
All right.